Welcome everyone to the next section of computer-aided design using Fusion 360. In this our class, we will be recreating this exercise 13 in Fusion 360 design workspace. Okay. So the first thing we are going to do is to create our sketch. So in order to create our sketch, we will navigate to the create drop-down menu and select the create sketch command. And wherever you select the create sketch command, the three construction plane will be active, and you have to select either of the plane to create your particular sketch, either the XY plane, ZX plane, or ZY plane. Okay, you can create your sketch on either planes or on the surface of your geometry. So for this our example, we're going to be selecting the XY plane. So you can select any plane that you want, any of them is okay. Okay, the first thing we are going to do, the first step is to create a straight line 30 millimeter from each other, from this point to this point, 30 millimeter. So that's the first thing we are going to do. So we're going to create a straight line, and in order to do that, we will activate our line tool. And to activate your line tool, you can either use the keyboard shortcut L, or you go to your grid drop down menu and select the first command there, which is our line tool. Activate, click on it, left click on it to activate it. So go to any point in your canvas and click on any particular grid point. Then you move your line and click on another point. Okay, I'll click on the green check mark to complete my line operation. Then I want to dimension this line to 30 millimeter. Okay, so in order to do that, we have to activate the sketch dimension command. And to do that, you go to your create drop-down menu and select the sketch dimension, which is the last command there on that menu. You can activate it by left clicking on it or by using the keyboard shortcut D. So in order to dimension this, you select the line you want to dimension, left click on it, right, then drag it out and left click again to open the dimension. We will input our values, which is 30 millimeter, and click enter. Okay, so we have our first line. Right. Okay. That's good. So the next step is to create this cut of this line, this angular line here. And in order to do that, we are going to use the point command to place a point at 70 millimeter wide from each other and 20 millimeter from this point. So I will go to our Fusion and select the line tool, not line rather, but point tool. Select our point command. I will click on the point command to activate it. You come right here, click on the point and come to the other side. Make sure it's on the same horizontal axis. Left click on it to select the second point. Okay, now we have to dimension it. So the first dimension we are going to add is this horizontal dimension, which is 70 millimeter from each other. Okay, so I will activate my dimension tool by selecting the sketch dimension, the create menu. Then I will click on both points to add its 70 millimeter sketch dimension. By default, I got 70, but if you don't have 70, you can input the value and type in 70 and press enter. Okay, so but it's still not fully constrained. So we have to add other dimensions to make sure we have exactly what we have here. So the distance between the vertical and horizontal distance between that point and this one is 20 millimeter, which is what we have here. Okay, which is what we have here. The distance between here and here, distance between these 2 points, the distance between these 2 points is 20 millimeter. The same thing with the distance between here and here, which is this 20 millimeter. So we have to include that dimension. You have to add that dimension on both ends. Okay, when you use when you using point to create sketch profile, it makes it easier for you. So when you are done dimensioning and getting your point in the right position you wanted, you can just use your line tool and attach them individually. So it makes your work more neat and accurate. So we are going to add our dimension. Our sketch dimension tool is active. I'm going to dimension this from this point to this point, the vertical dimension. So make sure you are not that you are not make sure you place your dimension to in the right angle. Okay, so we are not trying to measure the hypotenuse here, which is this from this point to this point. We are trying to measure the opposite side of this angle. So we are going to click on this side. Make sure you are placing it on this end. Click here and say 20 millimeter. Press enter. Then we'll click on this and this again. But this time again is the adjacent side. We will click on it. It's already at 20, so we can just hit enter. So we have this. We now have this. So you can repeat the same process in this other end. But another way you can fix this is to use the horizontal constraint or vertical constraint. But let's just before we go into that, let's use our normal sketch dimension. So I'm going to repeat this dimension here. I will click on this end, click on this and add an adjacent dimension 20 millimeter and press enter. So I will repeat another vertical dimension for this. I say 20 and press enter. So we now have these 4 points. These 4 points. Okay. So the next point we are going to add is this point here, which is 40 millimeter from this point. Okay, we have 2 points here. We have 1 point here, we have another point here, and we have another point here. So from here to here is 20 millimeter, but from here to here is 40 millimeter. So we are going to add another point here. So when we are done doing this, you find out that it's very easy to use points and dimensions to create simple geometry such as this. Okay, so we are going to add this other point here, 40 millimeter from here or 20 millimeter from this other end. Okay, so we go over to Fusion interface and add that point. I will go to my create tab and select the point command. Come here and select it too. So in your case, when you are designing, you might place it not vertical or randomly at any grid. Okay, you can see this point now is not in the same line as this point, but we want them to be in the same line. So we can fix that using the horizontal vertical constraint. So this point is closer to the vertical axis than the horizontal axis. So whenever I add this constraint to this, it will we have it's going to make this point vertical to this one. So I will click on this point and click on this one. You can see they are now vertical to each other. So the distance between here and here is 40 millimeter, and the distance between here and here is 20. So I'm going to add that dimension too. I will go to create, select dimension, and add it. Okay, see 20 millimeter. Let's enter. So we have this now. Right. So the next step is to create another line here. But before we do that, let's try and generate this profile already. Let's try and generate this the right hand side of this profile. Okay. So before we go ahead and generate this, we are going to include another point here. I want to include another point here on this horizontal axis. Okay, if you can see, it's showing me the line is indicating that I'm on the same line with this with the initial point. Okay, even if I'm not on the same line, I can use the horizontal vertical constraint to fix them by selecting the horizontal vertical constraint, which is the first one. Select this point and select this one. Okay, you can see they are fixed now. That will dimension it to be 20 millimeter because in our sketch profile from here to here is 10 millimeter, and from here to here is 10, which gives us 20 millimeter dimension. Okay, so I will dimension that by activating our sketch dimension and try and dimension both points. Input my values 20 millimeter and press enter. Okay, so we have this now. Alright, so let's go ahead and use our line tool to join this point. I will select the line tool in my create drop down menu and try to join my points. Okay, I will join them by clicking on each point that I've already dimensioned. So you can see I don't have to worry about the dimension of these lines again because I've already used the points to dimension them. I already dimensioned the point. So all I have to do is just to join them. Okay, so that is what we have for now. So the next step is to create a this this cut operation here is to create this profile here, and the distance between the top of this sketch to this bottom is what 15 millimeter. So the next thing we are going to do is to create a straight line 15 millimeter to this distance, and the distance from this point to this one is 30 millimeter. So we are going to repeat that process, but this time around we are no longer going to use a point two. We are going to now use a line two, and our line two is still active. If you want to activate it, you can use the shortcut letter L on your keyboard, or you go to your toolbar is selected here, and go to your create drop down menu and select the line command. Okay, so I will place my line tool mouse here at this point. I'll click on let's click on it to activate the line, and I'll scroll down. So before I click on the second line, I'm going to add my values, which is 15 millimeter. If I click on that second line, you can see it adjust. So you can do this. You can do this. You can adjust the dimension on your line tool or any of the tool you are using before you conclude that operation. So I've included 15 millimeter dimension, straight line perpendicular. Okay. I'll say okay. If it's like this, it's not correct. I want it to be perpendicular. So I have to make sure it's perpendicular. You can see the perpendicular box has been added. So but if you are finding it difficult to do that, it doesn't matter. You can fix it then and use the perpendicular and add a perpendicular constraint to that. Okay. So in this case, let me attach it here and say okay. Then I want it to be perpendicular. I can use the perpendicular constraint and select the perpendicular constraint and add it to this line. Select the line that I want it to be perpendicular to. You can see the constraint has been added. The perpendicular constraint has been added. Okay. So I'm going to draw another line, 30 millimeter from here to here, showing us that this line is 30 millimeter. So I will repeat that. Okay. Using our line tool, I will activate our line tool and draw from here to here on a straight line, 30 millimeter. And increase our value, 30 millimeter. And when you increase the value 30 millimeter, you can't go beyond that line again. So if you want to go beyond that line, you have to make sure you stretch it or you input the correct value you want. Okay, I will click on this. Then since it's equal to this line, I will go up what to 15 millimeter. Okay, input the value 15. So this is an easy way of using your line tool to create this sketch. 15 millimeter. I will click. Then I want to go this other side, 20 millimeter. I will select 20 millimeter. Okay, and click again. I've still not deactivated. If I want to end this line operation, I will just click on this green check mark button. This green check mark button. I will end the line operation. Okay, but I'm still not okay. I want to complete the profile to have a closed profile. So I will select this point and join it to this point. Okay, now I have my sketch profile now. Okay, I'll say okay. I'll click on the select to uncheck my line tool or use your escape button to remove that line tool from your operation. So we have the next thing to do is to add this circle. This circle here with the diameter is 10. The diameter is and these two x in this diagram indicate that these two x in this diagram indicate that the circle you are going to create two diameter circles. So one on this end, one on this end. That's the meaning of these two x. So the diameter is 10 and it's at equal distance from each side of our edges of this our design. So and this design from here to here is 20, meaning that at the center we are going to offset 10. We are going to place it at the center of this 20 by 20 box. All right. So the first thing we will do, the next first thing we will do is to use our point command, select our point command and click on the center of this point. Okay, click on the center, then we'll try to dimension. Okay, if the distance from here to here is 20, so in order to fix this at the center, we are going to dimension it using 10 millimeter. All right, so we activate our sketch dimension, select this point and this point, and make sure it's 10 millimeter. Press enter. Okay, I will repeat the same thing for this process because the distance from here to here is also 10. Distance from here to here is 20. Distance from here to here is 20. So half of it is 10. So I'm going to select this line. Select this line. Now it's currently at 8.8. So I will repeat my value of 10 millimeter. Press enter. Okay, so my point is at the center now. You can repeat the same thing for this operation too by selecting this and this. Left click and left click the point you want to dimension. You drag out, you left click again, put in your value 10 millimeter and you press enter. Okay, repeat the same thing here. Then you left click on this point, left click on the line, you drag it out, you left click again, you put in your values 10 millimeter, press enter. Okay, so we now have our point, our reference point where we can now draw our circle. And the circle, according to the diagram, the circle is 10 millimeter diameter. Okay, so we are going to impute that value. So we are going to activate our circle command, center diameter circle. You can do that by clicking on this or using the keyboard shortcut C, or you select it on the toolbar here, center diameter circle, place it at this point. So you don't have to worry about the orientation of that circle again because you dimension that point, that reference point that you are using to draw the circle. So we are going to input our value, which is 10 millimeter, and I'll press enter. Okay. So I will reactivate my circle tool. I will come to this other end and click on it and drag it out, input my value 10 millimeter and press enter. Okay, now we have this our head. If you notice in our design, in our sketch, in our example or design example, there we have some fillet. You can see arrow meaning radius of 10 millimeter at this end and radius of 5 millimeter at this end. 2x mean that it's two separate, two edges, mean that you add in this edge and add this edge. So it's representing these two edges. So you add two 5 millimeter radius fillet here, rounded edge is 5 millimeter. Here is 10 millimeter round edge. Here is 5 millimeter round edge. So it's good design practice to add your fillets or your round edges in the solid environment, not in the sketch environment. So, but you can add it here, but it might mess up your constraint or anything. But in this case, let's try and add it here. So you come to the edge where you want to add it. In this edge, in these two edges, 10 millimeter radius, while this outer edge is 5 millimeter radius. So in order to add this fillet, go to your modify drop down menu. If you want to add rounded edges, you go to your modify drop down menu and select fillet. Fillet is for adding rounded edges to your design. While chamfer is for adding sharp edges at equal distance in your design. So you're going to select fillet because you're trying to add rounded edges. So in order to do that, the first thing you do is to select the two lines you want to add fillet for. You want to add fillet to. So you can see when I select the second line, you see the red fillet that is being displayed there, showing you how your fillet will look like. And when you click on that second line, you now have your fillet with the value displayed. And we are currently it's set at 4 millimeter. We want to change that to 10 millimeter according to our exam design. Type in 10 millimeter, say enter. Okay, and let's click enter. Okay, you can see it's giving us warning that some constraint has been removed. Okay, but it doesn't matter. It's still okay. You can still go ahead with your design. So not all air warnings are dangerous to the design you are trying to do. So I will repeat that fillet too. I will activate it in my modify drop down menu and select these two, or I select the point where they meet. Okay, I'll add my fillet, which is 10 millimeter, and I'll press enter. Okay, I think there's a little difference between these two. Okay, I think they are both the same, 10 millimeter. So I'm going to add another one, another fillet to these outer edges. So I will activate my fillet. I'll select the point where they meet, where those two lines meet, or you can select the two lines individually. It's set as 5 millimeter, so I'm okay with that. I will come to this other edge and set and click on it because they are both the same value, 5 millimeter, 5 millimeter. Okay, radius of 5 millimeter. So we have our 5 millimeter. Selected both edges that want to add our 5 millimeter radius to. Click on it. So we now have our profile, our close profile, and we are ready to extrude this now. So in order to extrude this profile, I will click on the finish sketch on the tab, on the tool tab, or on the sketch palette. It's the finish sketch button here on the sketch palette. Okay, so I will click on finish sketch and now click on extrude. You want to convert this to a solid body, so I'm going to select the extrude command. Select the extrude command. We have our extrude dialog box. This is our extrude dialog box. Okay, the first thing we are going to do is to select the profile we want to extrude. So I'm going to select this profile, which is what you want. You don't need to select this one because there is an open, there's a hole there. According to our design, there's a hole. You don't need to select it. And the thickness for our profile is 5 millimeter, which is indicated here. This is the thickness, 5 millimeter. Okay, so you should be able to understand these drawings, these technical, these 2D drawings. You should be able to interpret 2D drawings before you go ahead and create your own geometries. Okay, if you are trying to draw from a particular 2D drawing, if you are trying to create solid geometry from 2D drawing, you should be able to read and understand them. So the next thing we are going to do is to we've selected the profile. The next thing is to add the dimension, the distance we want to extrude. According to our drawing is 5 millimeters, so we are going to include 5. Okay, and it's set to new body. So we've not created any initial body. This is the first body we are creating. That's why I set to new body. But if you have a separate body that is close to this, you can change it to join or cut operation. You cut out this profile away from that body, or you join this profile to that existing body. But in this case, we are going to go with new body because this is the first profile we are creating. So you wait for it to load. Now we have our model. So we have our model is now complete. Okay, this is exactly the final result, exactly what we want, which is what we have here. So we are going to, you can add appearance. We are going to add, I can show you how to add appearance. If you want to add appearance to your model, all you have to do is to go to your modify drop down menu. Go to your modify drop down menu and scroll down to appearance. You can activate it by clicking on the appearance tool or using the keyboard shortcut A to select your appearance. The appearance dialog box will be open. This is the appearance dialog box. So you have to select any appearance you want. You have the Fusion library provides you varieties of appearance. So in this case, we'll be using paint. Okay, under paint, we will select glossy paint. Okay, there are other type of paint, powder coat or metallic flake. In this way, I want glossy, so I will use green. I will just drag and drop on the body you want. Okay, and when you are done with that, you click on close. So that's how you add. That's how you add appearance to your design. Okay, so if you want to add a text on this design, you are trying to write something on this design. In this case, we are going to write I want to add a text like REnT, Real Grand Engineering Training Limited, in the surface of our model. The first thing you do is to create a sketch on that surface. The surface you want to add is text on. And remember at the beginning of the class, I told you that you can either create a sketch on a plane or on the surface of your sketch. So I'm going to select the surface of this sketch. Okay, and our sketch interface is open. And the first, in order to create the sketch, we go to your create drop down menu and select the text command. So under the create drop down menu, under the sketch interface, you select the sketch command, the text command rather, and make sure it's set to the text type, not the text on part. Text on part is if you want the text to go along a path. Okay, like you want the text to be curved along this part, this particular curve here. You cannot use text on part, but we just want it to be in a box. So you select the normal text. So you click in order to draw the box. You first of all draw the box you want your text to be in, or to be contained in. So I will come to this end, click on it and drag. Okay, when you left click on it, release that your left release your finger, then drag and left click again. Okay, you now have your box where you want to type. Don't worry about any sample you see here, don't worry about it. You can always edit it. So you in the text dialog box that you have here, you can now input and edit your sketch. So in this case, I'm going to type in rent. In the text box, you can see our rent is upside down, but that's okay. You can always flip it. You can use the flip button. You can use the flip button to flip. You are not okay with this, so flip vertical. Then we flip horizontal. Okay, so now this is exactly what we want. Then for we want it to be bold. It's bold. Then we want the height should be 10 millimeter. Put height 10 millimeter, which is too much. You can reduce that to 6. This is okay. Then orientation, we'll set it to align middle. Okay, this is fine. This is beautiful. Then say okay. So we now have our sketch, our test sketch. So the next thing we'll do is to extrude or cut, extrude join or extrude cut this rent sketch, this text sketch into our solid model. So now it's just a display, just a simple display. It's not fixed yet into our model. So I'm going to click on finish sketch to return us to the solid design interface. So you can see it now. It's just this is an ordinary sketch. So if you go to your browser tab, if you go to our browser tab here under the sketch section, you can see you can turn on the sketch. So that's just a sketch. Um, it's not yet engraved on our model. So you can always turn it on. This is just a simple sketch display. So in order to add this to our model, we're going to use the extrude command. I will activate the extrude command under your create drop down menu. We activate the extrude command. We'll select this test sketch, which is the first one. Instead of extruding, when you drag it out, you are extruding. Okay, you can see operation is set to join, meaning that you should join it to the model. So you have this. This is what you end up with because you extruded it and you have joined it to this. So this is a single body. So, but if you want to cut it inside, you can also do that too. And mind you, you don't have to go back and delete. What you have to do is in our history tab, here, just go back and edit the operation. Okay, you don't need to delete it or just go back and edit that particular operation where you extruded. You can go back and edit them. Just go to the last operation you did, which is the extrude. You left click, and on the second option there is to edit feature. So instead of joining, I will change this to 1 millimeter and change it to cut. Okay, there is an error because by using +1, meaning that it's going outside, so you can't cut it outside because there is no object to cut it against. But if I should take it inside now, it will change to negative. Okay, so instead of -5, I'll change it to -1. So you have a cut operation, change the operation to cut. You say okay. So you can see you will now have this little cut inside. I have this little cut inside. Our rent text has been engraved into our design. So we can add a color, can also add appearance to those particular faces. So the first appearance we added was to this body. So you can repeat that by adding appearance to the surfaces of that rent text. So you do that by going to the modify drop down menu and select the appearance command, activate it. So it's set as bodies are component, but we want to add it to the faces rather. So we're going to switch it to the face rather than bodies. Okay. So we select a color. Let's say white in this case. I'm going to zoom in so that I can properly place it there. You can just drag and drop. Okay. I'll drag from the white and drop it on that surface. Make sure the surface you want to drop it on highlight before you drop it. Okay, release your mouse. Release. Okay, you can see that I've added it. So but I'm not okay with this. It's not purely white. I need something that is purely white. So I'll use this one. Purely white. I think that one was gray. This is dark. This is gray. So I'm going to use pure white. I'm going to use white. Make sure it's highlighted and I'll add it. The same. I'll repeat the same thing. Let's click on the appearance you want to use. Then drag. Don't release your finger. Then when you drag it to the surface you want to apply it to, you make sure it's highlight. Then you release your finger. It will apply that appearance for you. So that's what we do. Just drag and drop. a simple operation. Drag and drop. You have that, we say close. Okay, so we have our rent design. Okay, this is how one of the ways you can add text to a model. Okay, I think that will be the end of the class. So in our next class, we'll talk more on designs, computer aided design using Fusion 360. We'll talk more about how to create surface geometries, how to use some of the tools we have here, like the assembly, how to apply joints and others. In our next class, we'll talk more on that. So thank you for this class. We'll see you in